Let's analyze the performance of Nvidia stocks. What's happening with them? I'll definitely show you the volatility. Let's break it down in detail. Also, I'm interested in the volatility smile. Let's start from the very beginning. At the moment, Nvidia stocks have been stagnant for 25 days. That is, there are minor fluctuations, slight growth, then 5% growth, then they fell again, and we continue to consolidate. Let's switch to volatility and the options market right away. What's going on there? Let's start with volatility. After a very sharp rise, it fell and now remains at 50%. Undoubtedly, it will start to decrease. The longer the stock remains in consolidation, the lower the volatility will be. That's always the case. Let's take a look at the volatility smile. As we can see, the volatility smile is very flat, both towards the call side and the put side. Volatility is practically not increasing. However, in the near term, volatility will certainly increase towards, and I'd like to draw attention to that. Let's take a look at historical and implied volatility. At the moment, we have a skew. As we can see, historical volatility is much higher on the near-term curve of the volatility skew, but implied volatility is much higher on the further out strikes. What this could indicate is that sooner or later, volatility tends to revert to its historical value. Therefore, we may experience an increase in volatility on nearer-term strikes and a decrease in volatility on further out strikes. This is crucial for future strategy development. If we want to profit from this stock, we can build a strategy that generates income from increased short-term volatility and decreased longer-term volatility. I'll definitely discuss this further on the channel. Now, let's look at options trading volume. What's happening there? At the very beginning, we have a very large concentration of options at the $1,000 and $900 levels. This pertains to call options. Additionally, we have a very large volume at the $900 and $850 levels, which is the put option. I also want to draw your attention to the fact that there is a very large volume concentrated at this week's level. This is certainly not very good for the company, for the stock, because it of course increases volatility. I also want to draw your attention again to the $1,000, $950, and $900 level. As we can see, we are struggling with these values. Here is the $900 wall. We have been trying to break it for several days and cannot. And here, of course, is the influence of this huge wall of options, the largest one being at $950. Pay very, very close attention to this. Also, $1,000 is also a very large wall, but up to this point, we haven't reached it yet. Let's switch to 3D volatility right away. As we can see, 3D volatility reflects all the volatility at all strikes. Few people talk about this, but professionals will immediately understand what's happening. Let's get back to the Nvidia shares, then I'll show you an uninterrupted strategy. Again, I've already mentioned that in my view, Nvidia at the moment is not the best buy, but I'll remind you that I don't know where the stock will go. I have no idea. I'm not capable of predicting price movement. Anyone who claims they know where the stock will go is misleading you. My philosophy is about managing strategies and positions wisely. The most important thing is proper portfolio management. If you learn to manage your portfolio wisely, it won't matter where this stock goes. In my view, there's consolidation happening here, and something tells me that after a prolonged consolidation, the stock will start to decline. Again, this is by no means a call to action. I don't recommend shorting this stock or buying options at all because options are very expensive due to volatility. In my view, its profit potential is running out or nearing the end. I'm talking about the risk-reward ratio not being in the investor's favor. Friends, I'm not denying that Nvidia could rise to $1,000 or even $1,100 soon. Yes, it could happen, but it could also plummet significantly, and the risk-reward ratio isn't in the investor's favor. I'm only talking about this. I'm not denying its potential. I'm talking about risk and mathematical expectation. I build my portfolio solely on mathematical calculations and expectations. That's why I make money. I don't know how to predict stock movement. I need to change your mindset, my friends. I'm trying to change your mindset. Forget about predicting prices. Forget about technical and fundamental indicators. Learn to manage your portfolio wisely, and you'll start earning for real. Let me show you a strategy that can be developed. Again, the strategy is as simple as possible. I strongly advise against replicating it, buying it, or doing anything with it, because it requires a very serious approach. Managing positions very wisely. If you don't know how to do it, you'll definitely lose money. We can look at the selectivity survey. As we can see, we have a small loss if the stock continues to consolidate. But if the stock starts to rise, we will profit, or if the stock starts to plummet, we will also start to profit. By the way, this consolidation, this loss, can actually be eliminated. We can add, for example, a couple more sold options. As you can see, I practically nullified this loss in the middle. But okay, let's get back to stocks. I just showed you how to manage positions. What am I doing? And I'll repeat again, based on the derivatives market, on options, on volatility, on the trend. Here we have some unwinding. That is, someone simply sells shares, and then shares can be let go as well, as evidenced by a very large volume of short-term options, and sooner or later, these options won't be able to be carried over to the next week because not everyone will be able to afford to pay the additional premium to continue. And according to delta hedging, the market maker will have to get rid of these stocks. I've already explained what delta hedging is. It's when the market maker sells shares. It's when the market maker sells call options. And to avoid losses on these call options, they buy shares according to delta. And consequently, if all these options are sold back, then the market maker must buy call options and therefore close out all this hedging. I assume that sooner or later these options will be closed out, and sooner or later the market maker simply must dispose of all these shares from this hedging, and this could trigger a drop. A very significant drop will begin. It will be associated with the fact that the market maker needs to distribute shares even more because all this hedging becomes unnecessary. And here we may have a vicious circle. As there was growth, that is, we distributed them in the portfolio, and the market maker was obligated to hedge more and more their sold calls, and the same thing can happen in reverse. Everything will start to fall. Again, this is by no means an investment recommendation. Again, I understand the power of this company and I consider it very promising, but it's just very expensive. That's all. I don't deny the potential of this company. I'm just saying it's very expensive. I also remind you that I want to start a new experiment, open a completely new account, and begin funding it with YouTube monetization. When I get monetization, I will redirect all the money, absolutely all the money, to the new account, and there we will build a new portfolio. I will show which positions I open, which I close. There will be created absolutely the same spreadsheet as I am currently maintaining, only much more serious. There will be an absolutely full-fledged portfolio that outperforms the SP 500. So subscribe to the channel to not miss the beginning of this experiment. Everything will be as transparent as possible. Continue to watch the actions of Nvidia. It is also very important to monitor what happens with options on this stock with these huge option walls. I will definitely tell you about it in detail every week. I also advise you to watch my previous video about Nvidia stock where I talked more in detail about delta neutral hedging. Good luck to everyone.